Three, two, one. Okay, let's do this. Delete. Okay, let's do this. Hi, hello, and welcome to yet another Expat. This is episode 43, I think. I need to check because I haven't been consistent on Instagram in my posts. But here we are in a very special one because today I will let you a bit more into my life, and especially this might be news to some that don't know me so well and you just listen. It has been happening in the background during all this time, during all this year, but now I can announce that I have become a father. I am a dad. And in one of the first episodes, I shared that the reason I came to Germany is love. I met my partner in Denmark some years ago. She was studying there. She comes from Berlin. So this is the reason why I came. I know not everyone comes for love. I like to say I didn't come to steal your jobs. I came to steal your women when I'm doing any open mics. But this is why I have been here. And, life moves on and does things. And then here we are. Now I'm a dad. And this new reality is what I will talk a bit about into this episode. It's super fresh. Our child is just a few days old. So the mere fact that I can be recording right now is a miracle on its own. It took a lot of work and a lot of coordination, but we're a good team and we both believe in finding the ways to do what makes you happy and expressing in this microphone to the ears and hearts and brains of all of you is something that gives me. So I'll try to keep it going. Now, a few disclaimers from my life onwards. I will really try that consistency stays, but let's see. I assume the quality will drop a bit because basically what I need to do is record this podcast, edit, upload all in a shorter time. I need to really shorten my time from end to end production, and that might come at a loss or not because such a good podcaster that none of this will be showing. But I just wanted to let you know. I also probably need to change the intro. Instead of saying thoughts and whatever from a usually tired millennial living in Berlin, it should say from an always tired millennial living in Berlin. This is something that I'm experiencing these days, and of course, I will talk about the beauty of birth and new life. But disclaimer, you will most likely always be tired when you're a parent, and it's worth it. That's what everyone says, it's worth it, but you really don't take a rest for the rest of your life. This is how it feels like. So we can dive into this world of fatherhood together in this special podcast episode, aka Desperate Cry for Help. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not submerging into madness, but I could use a sponsor. So if BetterHelp or anything wants to sponsor this podcast, I will very gladly take it. But first things first, if you are becoming a parent in Germany or becoming a parent in Greece or wherever, it goes without saying that there are a lot of differences in how birth is done from country to country. And I didn't have a lot of experience beforehand, to be honest. I only got born. That was my experience in it. I was a user, I was not a developer or whatever. But yes, basically, in Greece, birth, to my knowledge, is very much medical. You get a gynecologist, you go there, then maybe they have someone helping them out, which would be something like a midwife, but not in the way that a midwife works in Germany. You choose a hospital or a clinic and you have a birth. In Germany, I realized there are a lot of different types that are supported. And by types, I mean even home birth is an option or birthing, a birthing center, which is not exactly a hospital. And then different types of hospital from more, how do you say, close to natural birth with bathtubs and a lot of things in the room to more medical type of birth, as I would say, which resembles more like an operation room. And this spectrum, just exploring it, was the first part of the journey. And that was quite interesting because my first thought was, what is all this hippie mumbo jumbo? I want Western medicine. I want a hospital. I want doctors. I want the whole thing. And as I started to do birthing courses because this is something that happens in Germany a lot. You go to these courses where a lot of partners are there and all the pregnant women are there and they all need to pee all the time. And then you get to learn an insane amount of things about pre birth, during birth, post birth, what to do, what to eat, how to sleep, what not to do, how to be a good partner. We even learned a move that can spin the baby around. If the baby is not finding its way, there is a move to help bring the baby the right way down. I'm talking about an insane amount of knowledge I had to accumulate, very, very different to the belief of, I don't know, the woman is pregnant and the guy just waits and then waits outside of a room where the doctors take the woman in and then a baby is there. The level of involvement that is common, I might dare to say, from my understanding in Germany, is shockingly beautiful, I would say, because I got to be part of this process from the design to the practice to the execution in a very deep way. And that seems to me like almost like a cultural difference. I will not put it on myself and the type of partner I am. It does seem that there's a lot more space for fathers to be very, very active in birth, in supporting, in understanding, in going through this. So many available classes. They are covered by the insurance as well. We even went to a class that they teach you how to carry on the baby, how to strap it around you. So it's been quite an interesting pre-birth situation, just getting ready and doing all this extra curriculum outside of work. There are concepts like hypnobirthing. If you say that to a Greek, it sounds like you give birth while you're sleeping. It's actually some relaxation techniques of active birth and a way to bring yourself, because giving birth is a bit of a trance. You enter this trance mode because there are contractions, there's so much going on. So actually the mental part, the mental fortitude that it takes to ride these waves of pain, and I'm talking for natural labor without having to take too many painkillers or an epidural, or like, of course, it's still hard, but learning to work with your brain for what's about to happen, that's something that has a lot of, it's an area, it's a field of work. A lot of people work in this type of field, and I had no idea. All of this sounded too hippie for me until I went in these classes, and you understand so much about what is actually happening, how the body works, how nature has intended and designed the little tweaks and the mechanisms to allow it. You understand the hormonal part, you understand the physical part. But yes, I will not go too much into that. This was the pre stuff, and I'm already 10 minutes in. I will go into the fun parts. Fun part number 2, besides the pre birth paperwork. There is a lot of paperwork involved. And for some of that, I had to be in a German Bürgeramt office. And because all the things are in German, here's the fun part. They asked that I have a translator with me. They want to make sure that you completely understand what you're about to enter when you're doing a declaration of fatherhood, for example. And they don't trust your partner to translate for you. And that's quite extra, but also nice from their end, I guess. They want to just be absolutely sure that you understand what is happening. So I brought my own sworn translator. It felt like I have entered a table of negotiations who would be translating to me everything that the woman was saying there. It sounds very much like a part of a serious movie. We had quite a lot of fun, even though he looked very serious. He had a suit, he had a business card, but yeah, it's not his usual type of work to be translating the municipality's office paperwork for someone to sign being a father. But we had fun, and yeah, thanks, I guess, Germany, for making sure that I know what I'm getting into. I mean, the level of detail, my partner couldn't understand it in German, what it is that it's saying. But we had the paperwork, we had the classes, you can never prepare. You have no idea what's coming for you. This is what I realized. It's completely surreal. And the more you try to prepare, the more you just realize that there is no way to prepare, and you need to prepare for the unknown. It's more of a mental state. It stops being about consuming information about how everything will go and memorizing all the different small details. And of course, you need to know your birthing plan, you need to know your partner's wishes, you need to know the procedure. It's almost like a decision tree. If you go in there and they say, hey, we need to do this, do you want to do it or not? What is the alternative? Like a lot of technical things are happening inside labor, so you need to know your way around on how you want to do things. Quite a project to manage, I would say. And in all this sea of information, this ocean of information that needs to be digested, understood, I need to swim through ridiculous amount of information and then be able to understand it, navigate it, ask the right questions. This is where not speaking German hurts. It really hurts. And for a people person, I need to know the information so I can ask the right questions, so I can navigate these environments successfully or efficiently or in the best way, and not being able to take part in language or relying on translation, relying on someone that will speak English. I don't think I felt the pain of that 2 plus 3 years that I'm here as much as I did throughout this process. Being so dependent and needing to, you process information later, so you lose access to asking the right question at the right time. Sometimes you can have some guiding questions to get where you want, and all these interesting communication techniques that humans do. It's very difficult to work if it's not real time. And then I always rely on the way that my girlfriend perceives information and brings that to me, which of course is lovely and I love all the translations, but it's already a first layer of interpretation. So yes, I really need to work on my German. I need to surpass this kid and learn faster than he will. So this is one goal here. I don't know how I will go about it. Duolingo. If you want to sponsor this podcast, that's a great thing. If you want to be parents in Germany and you're expats, there's a lot of information online. And if anyone wants, I actually have a very detailed Notion page with documentation, with a timeline of everything you need to do, because there's a lot you need to do, from registering to different places, from declaring, from submitting paperwork. You need to do things almost 1 year in advance to look for kitas, kindergartens. It's a real project. You really need an Asana, a Jira, a Monday.com, a project management tool to remember all the different tasks and timelines. So I just want to say I felt the pain of language and I need to get better at it. Unsure how this podcast is in English, but we'll get there. To get it back in order, we do the birth preparation classes, we prepare our Notion pages, we have all the information, time is ticking. We look at different hospitals and register for the birth. You need to register to the hospital so they know that you are coming. And in Germany, you can actually go and check out the different hospitals or the different birthing centers or whatever you want to call them. A small note here, because I gave a bit of thoughts on the home birth and on these different types of birth. Throughout the journey of my knowledge, and I'm someone who loves Western medicine, okay? You can give me a good herbal tea, but at the end of the day, if I need antibiotics, I will take them every 8 hours, be the most faithful person into the miracle of modern medicine. So I'm not the easiest to convince. But I have to say that after going through this journey of information, I do understand that at the end of the day, the place where the woman feels the most comfortable, the most safe, the most able to go through this very intense, is the best word I can choose, experience, is extremely important. The midwives are extremely competent, profession I knew very little about, and I have a huge deal of respect for it now. And then it looks like any sort of complication during birth is not something that just happens in an instant. So if all the pre-birth checks are all fine, if everything looks perfectly healthy, perfectly in place, then yeah, doing a home birth might be the right thing to do. And if anything starts changing, there is enough time to go to a plan B, because even if you do a home birth, you always have a hospital that knows that you're doing it and it's standing by basically, so you can go from the home birth there, and the midwives know exactly what they're doing. So all in all, somehow they managed to convince me that home births are not ridiculous. Okay. They are. I respect people who choose to do that, and I understand that it's a thing because it works basically. But back to us, we chose a hospital. I knew I would be so stressed. The time you need to drive your woman in labor to the hospital, that was one of my fear scenarios. How do you get in a car and drive? I was thinking, what if I take the wrong turn? Because this hospital we had, it's a really, really nice one, but it is 45 minutes away. It could be up to an hour depending on traffic. And this was chose it because of the approach that they have and the type of staff and how it looks like inside. And it made us feel really comfortable. But that was a huge stressor. And the way I beat it was to do some test drives. So I drove to the hospital without a need to, just to see the way, because I was being haunted by this thought that I'm going to miss a turn, to take the wrong exit, and then have a child delivered in the car, or have a head, see the head coming out. Too much information. But of course, when the time comes, it does feel you're never prepared. But humans have this beautiful thing that neuroscientists can probably explain it better than me. But the mode that unlocks when serious shit goes down, it's one that I personally have a lot of confidence in. It's the mode where you get so stressed before, but the moment something starts, you're just flowing. You're in a different place. It's the same when I was competing, running. I was an athlete, if you can believe that, many years ago. But there would be so much stress before. Once the race starts, you're there. You're somewhere else. It's happening. You're in the present, and everything is happening now. So you just work through that. You don't have time to worry. Usually, worry is connected to the future. We worry for things that will happen. Worry is a time of the present that exists for something that exists in the future. It's an interesting concept if you see it this way. So if you are in the actual moment, if you come to the now, it's a much less stressful place because you're there. It's the present. You do your best. You roll. You go with it. So this is how it went. I was in the labor room. I think it was a 10-hour labor. It was a relatively long one. Not so long. It can go from 4 hours to 24 hours or 30 hours. It depends on a lot of things. But I was in there. I was riding the waves of contractions with my partner. I was putting her favorite songs in the Spotify list. I was trying to create the environment. Of course, the midwives were doing all the work. Okay, I was also doing some work with being there and being present and doing breaths and whatnot. And then a lot of things happen. It's a long process. It's a long drag. It has nothing to do like the movies where you just get rushed in and push, 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 and then a baby screams. Maybe if it's your fifth child or your fourth child, it can be like that. But labor takes a long time usually. Everything happens in stages. You have a lot of time to discuss different options, to find your way through. You make a lot of tea in between inside the labor room, which had a bathtub. It had a big bowl you can sit on. It had a lot of different things to help an active birth. An active birth is the opposite of being in a bed with the legs up and someone takes the baby out. An active birth is one where you work with the whole body to make the baby come out, because remember, that's how nature did it. It has been vastly changed and medicinalized the last few centuries, but in nature, the woman is very capable of giving birth. It's usually a squatting position. That is the best one because the pelvic floor opens much more than sitting in a bed. The water helps a lot to relax the muscles, regulate the heartbeat. So giving birth inside these huge bathtubs is something that happens very often in the hospitals and the birthing centers. It can be a very nice experience. And something I didn't know around this about giving birth inside a bathtub. The baby I was so afraid when I saw that because I'm like, the baby's gonna drown. Like, don't you need to, like, if the head is out, what happens? How doesn't it just drink the water? And here, that very interesting detail, if you're wondering, if you give birth underwater, the baby doesn't breathe and is still alive because it's still breathing through the umbilical cord. This is how it breathes in the belly, anyways. It's in water, anyways. It's in liquid, in the amniotic fluid. So, mind blowingly simple, but yes, once the head starts coming out, for example, in the water, and this is not what happened with us, but I'm just saying, then the baby is still taking his oxygen from the umbilical cord. Then the rest of the body comes, and only when they bring it out of the water will the baby realize and air will go into the lungs, and then the baby will take the first breath for the first time. So, you want to give birth to a bathtub? You can probably do it. The baby's not going to drown. Who knew? But I said I will try to keep this podcast short. So maybe I just bring some more thoughts and try to wrap this up for today. I really thought I would be going into the baby stuff, but here I am in the pre-baby stuff. So the baby has happened. I am now a dad. I can't believe it. We stayed in the hospital for a few days. And at some point we had to go home, which is extremely stressful because now you're on your own with a tiny thing. Just the whole concept of keeping it alive, that's a big thing. No one prepares you for how weird that feels. I think that the delivery and starting and these first days are probably one of the hardest things I've done in life, and at the same time, super unique. I cannot explain the combo, but the level of hardness it has, especially in the first days, is wild. It's inconceivable. I've been through a lot of hard things, and I have to say, just I have so much respect now for every parent I see. Respect to your moms and your dads. Go tell your moms you love them right now. Insane what they go through. This podcast could be called the sleep deprivation podcast, if anything, or from now on. Yeah, huge respect to whoever raised you. It's a 24/7 job, and in the beginning you think you will rest, but you never rest. You know this thinking that you have, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do the other thing, but then I will catch a breath, and it's so difficult to find it. I think that with the baby you could be doing things nonstop, and the parents I know, they say, yeah, every 2 weeks it changes. Every 2 weeks it will be something different, and I'm thinking, isn't that what they did when COVID started? They said the next 2 weeks are very important. Just make it through the next 2 weeks and we'll work this through. Just stay home for 2 weeks. And then it was another 2 weeks after that. The next 2 weeks will be very important. The next 2 weeks will be very important. It's like the carrot during COVID. It's the biggest illusion that you'll find the time. But on the other hand, it really compares to nothing, I think. Being a parent, looking at this alive thing, it feels like unlocking a new level in life. And I mean that in a way. I've been in competitive sports. I've been a gamer. I've had numerous hobbies that took me places, or competitions, or speaking in front of people, or I don't know, different parts of being I have explored, more social or not, with more responsibility or not, with more recognition or not. I've been through some huddles, and I've had to juggle a lot of different balls in life. But the parenthood thing feels like a whole new level, and it will continue forever. It's like new mode has been unlocked. I have no idea how someone can do what needs to be done and at the same time raise a child, but I will figure it out and I will let you know. For now, I have taken off work for a long time. It will be 4+ months, and I will have to work for the rest of my life after this. I'm never going to retire early now. I need to keep providing for this little human. So the end goal is keep on grinding. But for now, I'm taking a very big break to enjoy this first time, to find the rhythms, to be there for my partner, to be there for the child, to be there for myself. Everyone says this moment passes so quickly and it's such an opportunity. So I'm taking it. Maybe I need to only eat rice and noodles, But thanks to your subscriptions and this podcast, I can actually survive without having to work. And this would be a really nice thing to say if it was remotely true. We are a bunch of people. I don't get anything from you. You get my which I'm gladly giving. Just the value of this podcast has increased so much more now because my available time is tiny. But yes, parents. I see parents as everyday heroes. Every time on the street now, I see a parent, I just look at them in the eye or with a child and I smile. And I really think that they understand that this smile means I have an idea of what is going. I know what a hero you are. This is what I'm trying to tell with my nod or smile to every parent of little babies I see. And before that, I didn't even care. Yeah, they have babies and then they get boring and then they cannot do a lot of things. But now I've crossed the bridge. I've crossed to the other side. I'm sorry. But the baby itself, it's quite an interesting little thing. In the first days, by the way, I will talk to you now about the first days. And this is the stream of consciousness of thoughts of this podcast. We're not going to have too much of a flow. It will be just random things in my head more than before. First days of the child, they cannot see. Like they don't see, they have eyes and their eyes are open, but they don't see anything. They can see some shadow and some light, and that's it. They basically look like they're super drunk all the time. It looks like a gnome, an old man that has been through a lot and is now drinking a lot of booze to drunk and take down the sorrows. When you have a child, everyone wants to know, trying to say, who does it look like? The moms were asking both mine and my partners, what's the head circumference? What's the height? What's the weight? And I'm like, what are you? Are you knitting a suit for it? Like, what? Why do you care? Until I realized that the birth certificates have all that data. And both of them wanted to check my birth certificate and my partner's birth certificate and to see if the values are close to any of us. Someone recently told me, I asked them, hey, who do you think it looks like? Me or my partner? And he said, listen, when I talk to her, I say it looks like her. When I talk to you, I say it looks like you. And I loved that. Maybe this is the way, not that it matters, but this is something people try to do. And the second thing, people want a lot of updates, they want a lot of photos, they want a lot of everything. Time is so little. Literally write updates to people while the sterilizer is sterilizing things for 3 minutes and I lay on the ground because this is the best place to be and I feel my back and I stretch and I write 2 messages and then off again I go. It's a 24/7 chore situation, especially during these first days. Babies are weird. They can't see. We said that. Do you know something else? They're so fragile and at the same time strong, but the fear of doing something wrong with the child. Do you know there's this thing called the sudden baby death syndrome or something? It's basically babies. Sometimes they just forget to breathe. Okay? That's a thing. If you didn't know, now you know. But infants, newborns, they're just not so used to this living thing. They were getting their oxygen from the umbilical cord and now they have to do all the breathing for themselves. So there's a chance, not a big one, it's a very small one, but it happens that the child can just stop breathing. Maybe it forgets. And if it forgets to say, you know what, I wanna stick around. Maybe it's like, yeah, I've seen enough of this, no problemo. So, on top of everything else, there is also this constant stress or just awareness that you always need to be having some eyes on the child. And of course, sometimes it's impossible. You need to sleep for some minutes every now and then, or exchange or do things. But this is one more thing around their fragility. And not only they don't know exactly how to breathe, not only they cannot even see, they cannot even temperature. I don't know how to say it. They don't know a lot of things, but they don't know how to temperature. Their bodies are not really good at regulating the heat. So you always need to be checking, is this baby cold? Is it warm? How many layers do I need to put? Because they cannot even warm themselves. Their skin needs to get used to the fact that it has to work to do it. Other random things about babies, they get surprised by their limbs. They're not used to having limbs. They cannot move that much inside the belly. So when they're out, they constantly move their arms and sometimes they put their arms in their face and they start feeling things around. And I kid you not, it's a thing that the babies wake up themselves because they move their hands and they bring them on their face and they have all this situation going because there's just too much going on. The sensational input that a poor baby starts receiving from the quietness of the belly into brightness, the light, the sounds, the touches, the smells. It's a lot, okay? So suddenly having limbs moving around wakes them up, which is why babies love to be tucked. You can wrap a baby. You've seen Jesus, right? Wrapped in this white linen stuff. Yes, there's one thing called. Another thing is wrapping their hands close to their body because if they cannot move them, they're more chill. They're more happy. They're like, one less thing I have to think about, which is kind of nice. Reminds them of the belly. And there are a lot of things that are weird about them. Another one that creeps me out, these very flexible joints. Like everything is still developing. But let me tell you, if you look at a newborn, how the feet are dangling from the ankles and all that, it looks, I seriously thought there's something wrong. When I need to put those tiny clothes on him, because I'm on diaper duty, I change all the diapers, I move him around while my partner tries to be in bed. The joints, yeah, I thought, oh my god, has this child lost its foot? Why is it dangling like this? The midwife said it's all good, they're just very flexible. I think I could make some money out of this child. Go take it into, do you remember the Replays, Believe It or Not, was a show before the internet that was trying to bring the internet where people would send videos or it would cover very people doing extraordinary things. I really liked that show when I was a child, and it's kind of a fun title as well. Replays, Believe It or Not. It's like we don't even care. You don't believe it, not our problem. But yes, babies, babies, babies. And then time feels like an endless trip, like you are some sort of a drug because you don't sleep that much. And I'm very lucky because my partner does the night feeding, so I can take some hours of sleep. And then in the day, I work my hours. I put these hours into muscle energy, running around the house, preparing things, cleaning things, changing things. Everything will have pee on it. Everything will have poo on it. Someone told us, count how many days you can survive, not survive, how long will it take for poop to touch you? It was still the poop that they have from the umbilical cord food. So it's, yeah, you don't need to know how black or sticky or weird it is, but it's not the real poops yet. It's a bit of a pre-poop situation of all the things they were holding. Day zero, I got poop, I'm out of the game, but I haven't been peed yet, which is very important because when you change, the little boys, they really like to pee on whoever changes them. And I won't say who has been peed, but we are two in this household and I haven't. So I have that going for me, but it feels like there is no day of the week, no night. No, it's all just an endless trip from feeding to feeding because they need to feed every 2 hours, but feeding them can even take an hour. So guess how much time you have in between to do anything else. But yes, it's all good and it's all so worth it. I cannot describe you how excited I was to see the first poop because basically what it means is that once they start getting some milk, when they finally poop, it means their digestion system is working, their belly, which has the size of a grape, not the whole, a grape ball, like one grape, 1 euro coin. So that first poop, which means basically the engines are on, was one of the most exciting moments of my life. I've never been so excited to see shit before. I had a friend who, during vacations when we were teenagers, this is TMI, so skip 2 times the 15 seconds. I give you some time to do it. But sometimes he would do a poop where he thought that it's worthy for others to see. And that could be because that poop maybe was, I don't know, there was something about the size, there was something about the shape, and sometimes it was, yeah, the shapes. Don't the, by the way, this is not a diarrhea thing, okay? This is actual shapes. Anyway, so he had some good things going, but my baby's first poop definitely surpassed every other poop I've seen in terms of excitement. I'm even worried, after some days, is the poop looking good because it changes in color. So let me just say, I'm taking photos of poop. This is part of what I do. And then there's a spreadsheet in which we write down when the baby eats, when it breastfeeds, from which side, in what way, and we check the number of pees and poos because yeah, you don't know how much they're taking. You don't have data to know if they're being fed well besides the output. So we even have a book which is like the birthing book for the child that has different colors. It has different squares and says these colors are good, these colors are bad, and yeah. But I need to slowly wrap it up here because time is flying. Uh I'm an extremely happy dad. I have all these beautiful moments. Just smelling the baby, it's the biggest drug. Having something created from us still feels extremely surreal. It feels like it's a different. It's just this sense of now I described before when you cannot really necessarily process everything. You're just enjoying being in the moment and the present. This is what I've been living for many days now. So even trying to share a few of it with you is I guess one way of recalling things. Huge respect to anyone working in the jobs around the midwives and the hospitals and the deliveries. I cannot believe that their 8-hour shift can have so much intensity in emotions, and it's just such a unique, intense thing. And it blows my mind to think that people work in these fields and they take part as their day to day in situations like this. Huge respect for that. I'm also extremely happy that I finally my clothes don't matter at all anymore. I can wear whatever I want. We're not leaving this house. I'm very happy that the efficiency is taking over everything. What used to be a couch, for example, is now the place we throw all the clothes because we don't have time to fold anything. We wash, we dry, and we have big piles in the couch for things we can take. I love maximizing the efficiency. I'm very excited to see the baby get stronger every day and to be a bit more more like a person. In the beginning, it's like a grumpy, drunk old guy who loves to drink and shit nonstop and sleep in between. But slowly it starts changing, and more as it grows and gets more used to life, it gets also more exciting. Yeah. This is not a thank you podcast, so I will stop thinking the gratefulness I have for everyone who has reached out, who has been getting some of these news. It's so nice to have people around you knowing that others care. So I hope you have that in your lives. I'll start finishing this podcast. It was a big one. It was all over the place. I don't know how the next episodes will look like. I will probably still keep bringing news around the world, but I do think that it might be for some time also a little bit of a journey to parenthood from the point of view of someone, I guess, an expat. The identity stays. It's also a multilingual home we will be having, and a lot of things I will be learning. So I will be sharing some of that, and I will also be sharing a little bit around the world. So the podcast should not change that much. This was a special episode to bring you up to speed with the fact that I am now a dad, and let's see how it goes. Excuse me for the length and excuse me for punctuality or quality. What can you do? You can actually, hey, share this podcast, rate it in Spotify. I want everyone to rate it, subscribe, blackmail your friends, comment something. I'm never leaving the house. This might be the only way to have exposure to the outer world. Engage with me. Why not? And as I wrap it up, I will tell you the last thing. I think that my goal now, I don't think I can retire anymore. I need to be providing for the child. But I was at the supermarket, and in front of me was an old man. And I realized there is a type of these old people where they only buy these four things. Like it doesn't matter what they are. It's the state of mind they have arrived at that has tried a lot of different things and says, you know what? I will only have bread, this chicken, and I don't know, latte macchiato. This person had about 20 latte macchiatos, single use, the thing you take from the fridge and you drink it, right? And then he had a lot of cases of bread, a lot of cases of chicken. And you could see it's someone who has their routine. It's a bit of chicken every day, it's the bread, has the macchiato, and just goes to the market and says, who cares about recipes? Who cares about all these different options? I know where my game is now. I want these 5 things, and I can live off of these 5 things, and they're set. They are set. So maybe this should be my future goal. These people that slowly arrive at their thing, and then their thing stays the same, and then they just roll with it, like this old man at the supermarket. And I've seen different ones like him, where they know exactly what they are going to be consuming for a long time. The same stuff. If it's good and it's working, why change it, right? This has been a long one, but I need to get going. I will edit almost nothing and press send. And thank you so much for still being part of this. Feel free to reach out in any platform and to rate this podcast 5 stars. Until next week, I will still be alive and my child will be double the age. So this is something. Have a good one. Ciao.